So today we're going to do some custom firmware installation on the 40XXV and the 40XXH. So we're going to install Knulli, the custom firmware. So stick around and we're going to have some fun with this. So to get started with the tutorial, you will need one SD card. The reason is that Knulli will need you to remote into your device to transfer files. Don't worry, I know it sounds scary, but it's actually pretty easy, and I will show you how to do that later on. Now, yes, there are two SD card slots at the bottom of this device and also on the V. The Knulli does give you some instructions on their wiki for that, but to keep it simple, and for the best experience, we are only going to show the one card method for doing the SSH remote transfer. So right here, I have a 128 gig SD card that I'm just going to use for both the software and my ROMs. And I'm going to walk you through how to throw all of these things on here and get just a little bit of a setup going. Okay, so first, you're going to want to go to the GitHub page. Now, I'll link that down in the description below. And you can go right down here where it shows the installation package downloads. And we want to select, it doesn't necessarily say the H, but it's the 40XX line. So definitely click on this and you can download it. What we're going to do here after that is you go into your downloads, and I have it already downloaded, and I also have it unzipped. So what you want to do with the zip file afterwards, you just want to extract it. I would just extract it to the downloads, make it easy for yourself, and then once that's extracted, then here you have the image. Now, once you have that, we're going to open up Rufus. Rufus was actually working a little bit better for me. So what you want to do is we are going to put the SD card in an SD card reader. You will need an SD card reader for this. Once we have that in our computer, I didn't have that in my computer beforehand. So you can see that it automatically indicates that it's picking up my SD card. I already flashed this, but just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to flash it again. I just wanted to see if everything was working well. I was having, and this was probably just me, I was having some issues with Win32 Disk Imager. I don't know what was going on. I used a different card, so it could have been my card. So make sure you are clicking on the correct SD card. You click on the drive that you want to actually format, and then leave this alone. And then we're going to select, click there, and so here we have, you go into the folder, you find the image, you hit open. Once it does that, it shows that is the image that you want to do. You can leave all the rest of this on the Knulli wiki. It does need to be formatted in FAT32, which is defaulted, so that's good. You also want to use Rufus if you are using a higher size card. I found that I have better luck with that, but again, your mileage might vary. Once you are done with that, then we hit start. And yes, it's just saying, hey, your F drive, or whatever drive you're selecting, all your stuff's going to be gone, which I know that. I'm good with that. So make sure you're not clicking on a different drive like a portable hard drive, your C drive. You don't want to do that. That'll be sad. And then yes, it's just saying if you do already have something on the card, it's just saying it's getting rid of all of the multiple partitions. So you can say okay. And this actually doesn't take too terribly long. It only took a couple minutes. And through the magic of editing, we have sped this up to finish in 10 seconds. All right, you'll hear a little ding, and then the status, once it's green and it says ready, it's fine. Everything's good. So then you will see that the device, the card will actually change, and it will say Batacera in whatever drive that you have it connected to. So that's how you're going to know that you have done this correctly. Hit close. We don't need Rufus open anymore. And then you definitely want to make sure that you eject your card. Always eject your card so it doesn't cause any sort of issue. Once we do that, then, all right, right here, we're going to pay attention to this spot. Now, depending on which way you did this, hopefully you did it the same way. And we're going to use Windows Explorer to find Knulli on your network drive. So you can click R and then just copy this in. And then if you're using Mac, you can actually use this command. So right here, you can see this is what we're going to see. That you're going to see it under your network tab, and then you can go into ROMs, and then you can go into whatever you want to do. So let's try that. Just a reminder, if you didn't see that before, if you go into security, this is where you're going to find your root password for this is Linux, and it's all lowercase. Okay, I think mine's set up as Batacera. If your card is named Batacera, you're probably going to have to do this. And then it pops up and you can see a share screen. Batacera is capitalized, Linux is all lowercase, and then there you go. So I would just open up a new window, and here you can actually move all of your information. So we'll go into ROMs, and it's got everything. So there's favorites. And you just select and drag and drop, basically. Whatever you are looking to drop, just find the corresponding folder. Game Boy is Game Boy. Select all. There we go. Now, is it actually, oh, it is actually NES. There's actually NES, and then it's SNES. Oh, good. Cool. Sometimes that's a little bit different. And let's see, does it have Genesis? Has Master System. Mega Drive. So we'll move over. Select all. Go to Mega Drive. Wabam. So once you do that, the higher file systems are going to take a little bit longer. So just know that this might be an overnight project. If you're going to drag and drop all sorts of things, then it'll take a little bit of time. So here is a rundown on Knulli. Now I put the SD card in TF1, and just because we have one SD card, we don't have anything in TF2. So it's your operating system and your ROMs. Everything is on there. So you can see that this is kind of the default theme that I have set up on here. Knulli should bring up everything that you have games for, all the systems. It will pop up here, and you can hide all of the other ones. It should automatically do that from default. So, but here you can see if you hit select, you go into a quick access menu, and you can launch a screensaver, do user manuals, and then right here you would hit that for starting, suspending, shutting down. So that's your shutdown, quick access shutdown menu. So you hit B for back, and then right here we hit start. If you hit start, this is your main menu for the settings, and you can see everything here is all set up. So you can go into retro achievements and sign in. Game settings, you can go here after you've loaded any ROMs on here. It say that we were doing that right now. Once those files have actually gone onto the card, you want to actually hit update games list so that the system knows that you actually have new games. And then you can see that there's a bunch of different things that you can do. Down here, there's a couple different ways that you can get to this, but definitely pay attention to this for the system settings. This is per system advanced configuration. So if you click on this, here you can select whatever system that you want to do and say that we are going to select, oh, I don't know. We'll select master system. So from here up at the top, you can scroll through what emulator that you want to use. Now, personally, I use Pico Drive just because the other one, Genesis Plus, GX, and really everything else that I've ever used, they don't, for whatever reason, they like to change the music. I did a whole video on this, and it's basically you just have to change the emulator. So if you've ever played any Master System games and they have weird music, you definitely want to use Pico Drive. So here you can go through power mode and change that. I would definitely recommend using high performance for anything that is what I like to say is the mid-tier, Dreamcast, PSP, N64, any of those. And every once in a while, if you get into the PS3, you might want to throw that on there, but you can do balance, power saver, auto. You can just let it do. I usually just leave it on auto. So, but you're doing, just to be mindful, you are doing this for just whatever system you're in here. So right here, we're in Master System. So you change all of these. So I would recommend you go into, actually, we'll just do PSP really quick. So PSP, and you can see that it's using PPSSPP. It is already saved onto high performance. I think that automatically changed that. And here, if you wanted to change the video mode, here you can do the aspect ratio. I would recommend just doing auto unless you have a burning desire to have something else on there. And then you can see all the rest. You can get really different textures and filters and things like that. So if you want to throw on the CRT filter for any of your NES or SNES games, you can definitely do that in here. And then we can just back out of here and I'll show you the rest of the menu. Here's where you'll set up any sort of controller, Bluetooth settings, and user interface. That's where you're going to get the theme set. Now, you do definitely have to be connected to Wi-Fi if you're going to download some new themes, but you can go through with the theme configuration, set up screensaver. You can change. Here is where you can change about your, if you want your favorites on top, hide the folders, hide the files, and a couple different ones if you want anything else. Sound settings, network settings, that's where you're going to plug in your Wi-Fi. I'm not going to do that because it shows my Wi-Fi information. Scraper is where you're going to throw in your scraping information. I would highly recommend signing up for a scraper account if you do not have one, and you can scrape something. I think the free account is something like 20,000 games that you can scrape a day, or files. I think it's files. So updates and downloads. That's where you're going to go through if you want to download any bezels or different themes, things like that. And then here you can check out for a software update. And system settings. This is a little bit more generic. Video output, audio, overclock, things like that. And then here is where you're, just a reminder, if you didn't see that before, if you go into security, this is where you're going to find your root password for this is Linux, and it's all lowercase. But I would stay out of these unless you want to. And then you can hit the quit. If you hit quit, it's going to actually turn off. But the menu button doesn't actually do anything if you are in here. And if you are in a game, I don't believe that it does anything for a game either. Let me just double check that. No, the menu button doesn't do anything. How you get out of the game now is, let's see, I think it is menu and start. No. Oh, yes, it is menu and start. And then that's pretty cool because it goes right back. And you can see once you have everything scraped, you can see that there's a nice little video that you can actually set up where if you go through the menu list, it'll show you a screenshot. And obviously this is all everything that you can set up in Scraper. And then it'll show you a little video. So I always like that. But if I'll go back into Scraper, if you scrape everything, the scraping settings, I think that's where you put in your info, which I'm not going to show, but you can change all of this. Oh, actually scraping settings, here you go. That's where you would put, you can change. So screenshot and box logo and all that jazz. And then here's where, so there you go. And then you would just toggle down to scrape now and you're good. I do love how easy and thorough Knulli is. It's a version of Batocero, which has been around for quite some time and works very, very well. Really everything in the default settings is kind of already set up for you, and you don't have to really monkey around with much. Once you add your ROMs, you can just put the card in and be off and running. I would recommend getting the Screen Scraper account up and running, and then you can make your device just a little bit better looking with some box art. My only tiny personal complaint about this custom firmware is that the ports list is not as vast as the one for MuOS. But again, that's just a personal tiny nitpick thing. This is a great custom firmware, probably the best out there as far as easy plug and play. And yeah, that is it for my tutorial on how to install the custom firmware Knulli onto your Anbernic RG40XX V and H. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can get notified of the next video. As soon as MuOS is completely baked, I will have a tutorial video out about that for these devices. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Knulli custom firmware. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome, everyone, and go play some games.